Welcome back to the channel. In this video I'm going to give you a couple updates on what I've been doing on my 2014 Chevy Caprice PPV. First one is to remove the radio head unit to ship it off to get it reprogrammed so that the backup camera is activated on this 2014. It was a feature in the 15 to 17 but not on the 14. So the radio head unit is being shipped out for that. And also to activate the Sirius XM receiver, so I'm looking forward to that. It's not all that difficult to get into the center console to remove it. It's a lot of trim pieces and such, and you can see it's kind of opened up here. This is also in preparation for the second project, which is the installation of this carpet from a 2014 Caprice PPV, and I was lucky enough to find that in the local wrecking yard. It's in really good shape. They did have to separate it in the middle to get it out, and I had to do the same for the rubberized mat as well. And this is in really good condition, and I do have my aftermarket Lloyd mats for the front, which stopped the squeaky in my shoes on that rubberized section in the driver footwell area. A few things to get the seats out. You have a pre-tensioner on the side to get the lap belt out of the way, and you have to disconnect the airbag connectors. Make sure you disconnect the negative battery cable before doing so, and then disconnect the electrical connector underneath the seat, and 2 bolts in the back, and it tilts out and pulls out. I'll be adding an aftermarket Nano product center console, and I'll let you know my thoughts about that at the end. And you pop out the rear seat bottom, and then you have to pull all the trim panels on the lower portions here to get the existing flooring out. And then of course in the center console there's a couple trim panels there as well. And underneath in the driver footwell area there's a emergency brake cable housing you have to move out of the way. But you do have to separate it in the middle again, like I said, and then you can pull it out. There was some mystery fluid in the driver's side rear flooring, so I'm going to let that dry out, but I've got it out. And then we clean out the flooring, and there's some extra wiring still left from the upfitter, that red wire there in the front passenger footwell area. So I pulled that out, cleaned up everything, and you'll see me going through that. I have some time-lapse footage from the installation of the carpet, so I'm going to go through and let you know some of the more interesting points. I had found a post somewhere that stated that the trim panels for the rubber flooring versus the carpet flooring were different. Nope, they're identical. Part numbers are identical on all those trim panels, so don't worry about swapping those out. You can reuse what you have. First thing, I'm getting that extra wiring out of the passenger footwell area. Then I'm going to start cleaning up stuff, and you'll notice there's a black plastic air duct panel that I have down on the rear seat, lower part of the video here. And that's from the driver's side. It was necessary, at least for me, to get it out of the way so I could then cut the carpeting in the necessary places to separate the rubberized flooring and to get it out. So I'll be reinstalling that, and of course some of the tabs were already broken on that, so I'll be using some double-sided industrial Velcro to help secure that back in place. But cleaning the floor up was an interesting task, but getting everything cleaned up and prepped. Of course, the new flooring, I'm going to use some adhesive spray on it to get, here's that double-sided Velcro to get it up on the side there. And there's a couple plastic retainers also in use there, but everything underneath the center console looked nice and dry. The HVAC drain wasn't leaking or anything. So getting this down in the proper place and up, see there's on the passenger side you have to push that over the center console because that's where the bulk of the center console carpet is when you cut it at the seams that they provide. And trying to get that, there's a little plastic tab that sits underneath the HVAC area that is a little bit difficult to get that carpeting back underneath, but with patience you can get it. And of course there's a couple plastic screws or caps that you could screw in on the one on each side in the footwell area. The driver's side area does have the additional issue with the emergency brake cable. There's a metal tubing that runs from the emergency brake area on the left side by the kick panel, and then that runs along, so you have to get the carpeting underneath that. And then in the center console area towards the middle part here, I'm going to use some zip ties actually to secure the two sections together. You'll see that in the section just coming up in a little bit here, right here, where I drill a couple holes on each side and use a couple zip ties to help join those two sections back together. And this is took me a couple hours to get this all in, so this time lapse is certainly speeding it up quite a bit. But if you want to do it right, here's me using some adhesive spray and then letting it get tacky and then pushing down in place. It's already starting to look pretty good. I put my Lloyd mats in there just to make sure they fit, and they did. And then I'm working through the center console area, putting the trim panels back in the kick panel area. And then I'm working backwards from front to back. And then getting all that snap into place. Again, the door seals are needed at certain points because a couple of the trim panels actually go over those. And then in the back there, the ones by the rear seat, those are usually the ones I found to be the most cracked or unavailable. So luckily I have a couple now that are in good condition. And I know on the passenger side, the rear door seal is not all the way pushed in. I get that at the very end, so I already know about that. I'm reconnecting all the cabling in the center console area, including the ground to the ground lug in the center console area, and zip tying up the extra cabling for the police equipment stuff that's no longer in use, and then getting everything ready for that plastic piece for the emergency brake cable to be reconnected. There's a long adjustment screw there, so I marked the plastic before I removed it, so I'm adjusting it back to that same point where the two sections are at a certain degree angle apart, so that's already been adjusted. Now getting this new Nano Products Deluxe console kit installed. It uses the 4 pre-existing mount points for the metal plate for the PPV, and then it's got 4 screws from the storage area that goes down into that plate to secure it. And we'll have to see how I like this. The lid seems okay. I don't know, the position may or may not bother me going forward, but the lid should not just flop down. It actually flopped down on my finger when I was working on this, so I didn't quite like that. And the leather squeaks when you move it, so I put some felt on it to quiet it up. So getting the seats back in place, you have the clips in the front, and of course you need the pretensioner reinstalled. There's the airbag connector, so you need to reconnect that, and then the plastic trim goes on the side, and then you can lower the seat. Of course, you have to reconnect the electrical connector underneath the seat. The driver's side pretensioner bolt does have an extra bracket that acts as a washer and a retainer bracket. Make sure you get that in the correct orientation. There's a little tab that goes underneath the pretensioner. Driver's side is the only one that has that, passenger side does not. And the driver's side had a recall that replaced the cabling portion of that because it would break with a large number of entry and exits and movement of that cable. Make sure you get that done right. Rear seat installs with the tabs underneath the top portion, and snap the 2 front clips in place and adjust everything, and you're done. The Lloyd mats that I retained from my Chevy SS sedan when I sold it, they fit just fine in the Caprice, and the rubberized section in the driver's side footwell area on the regular carpeting, whatever's in my shoes, soles, just squeak on that all the time, so having the Lloyd mats eliminate all that. And I think the carpet looks great. I cleaned it up after I got it home from the wrecking yard and then in preparation for this particular task. But I think it looks great in the car. It looks more like a regular car, which is my objective. I'm going for a good daily driver. I have a lot of work planned for the vehicle: suspension refreshing, cooling system replacement of hoses, water pump, electric cooling fan replacement, and just a lot of work. So if you like the content of the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification to get notified when I upload videos like this on my project car. Thanks for coming to the channel. See you in the next one.